The new face of city government. What will the new administration at City Hall look like? What will it mean for New Yorkers? The Point starts right now. Maria Torres-Springer has held many positions in city government. Her latest, a co-chair of the transition team for Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. So I guess the real question is, what's the new face of government going to look like?
It's been such an exciting past few weeks, Marcia, because the new face of government is, I think, will reflect this new era that Mayor-elect Mamdani is really ushering in for our city. He's been so focused on making sure that the energy generated during his campaign translates into governing success. And so the face of this new era, I think we are going to see, and it's our #1 mission on the Transition Committee, to have public servants in the right roles who are people of incredible competence, integrity, compassion, and work ethic. So if that's the new face of government, I think New Yorkers are going to be really proud.
Well, you know, the one thing about this campaign is it brought into the voting booth a lot of younger New Yorkers who are very excited about having a younger mayor at City Hall. Will the new administration reflect that?
I think the new administration is going to reflect all of the strength and diversity of this city. For too long, New Yorkers, I think, Marcia, have been subject to what the mayor-elect has called a politics of despair and a politics of division. And so he offered something new, a more positive vision for our city. And if the resumes that we've received are any indicator, in the first 24 hours, we received 25,000 resumes. And these are individuals of all ages, of all sectors, who raised their hands to say, I want to serve. So I think that is a beautiful thing and could only lead to the types of outcomes that New Yorkers really deserve in this moment.
Were you surprised by the number of people who suddenly want to serve in government?
There was a little bit of surprise, but this city has always, I've always marveled at how New Yorkers step up. When it comes to the success of our city, I've always found that New Yorkers, they don't sit on the sidelines. They say, put me in, coach. And I think what we have in the mayor-elect is someone who is inviting that type of energy, inviting new ideas, and is focused on the very hard work of translating all of that to the types of programs that deliver for New Yorkers who may have been disillusioned by the state of politics in our city.
You know, you've served in a number of administrations. How do you think this one is going to be different?
Well, I think that new energy will be critical in the work of government. The scale and pace of the bureaucracy in the city of New York, it's almost unimaginable. If you think about what happens on a day-to-day basis, you have to supply 1 billion gallons of water or maintain 30,000 acres of parkland. You have to pick up 12,000 tons of trash. And so it is a gargantuan undertaking. But here's what I've been really impressed by, and it's why I was so humbled to be asked to be part of the transition team, is that the mayor-elect is laser focused on public excellence, which means getting right the nuts and bolts of government, but also creating the type of environment, the type of culture where more New Yorkers can really feel that the politics at City Hall are working for them.
So what attracted you to join this, this team? I mean, you've certainly had a lot of years in city government and a lot of experiences. Why go back?
For a couple of reasons. One, because I know that this time of transition, it's a really important one. There's a ton of work to do to be ready on day one. But really, most importantly, in all of my conversations with the mayor-elect over the course of the last several months, and in my conversations with New Yorkers who were supportive of him or curious about what he was trying to accomplish, I had a renewed sense of hope for our city. And given this has been my life's work, I felt that the least I could do is to take those lessons from the last 3 administrations and share what has worked, what hasn't, and what it means to be ready to govern boldly and effectively on January 1st.
So I guess the question is, how do you think what's the difference between this transition and the transition from the de Blasio years to Eric Adams?
Yeah. So in every transition, there is always a lot of work to find the right people, to ensure that you're understanding the state of all of the agencies so you can start making decisions, smart decisions on day one. But a couple of things stand out with this transition. Number one is that we're really focused on making sure that there is a high level of transparency, that we're keeping New Yorkers up to date about the actions and progress made in the transition. And that it is also powered by New Yorkers. You know, the first 24 hours, there was about 500,000 in donations for the transition. The mayor-elect has been really focused on making sure that the transition, like the campaign and like governing, will be powered by the working people of this city. And so that too has felt really different. But in our conversations across the co-chairs, and now with 2 extraordinary individuals who the mayor-elect appointed to the top positions in government, First Deputy Mayor Dean Fullahan, and of course Al Bisgard Church for Chief of Staff, there is a very clear mandate for us, a very clear remit that we identify individuals who will be extraordinary managers, but who also have a real belief in government's capacity to do really hard things. So there's something kind of intangible that we're also looking for, because the challenges that we're facing in this city, they're not insignificant. And we need individuals who have the qualifications, but also have the ability to do in some ways what other administrations thought was too hard.
So the thing that's sort of interesting to me is that he picked Dean Fullahan to be his first deputy mayor, because he not only comes from a background of finance, which is going to be a big issue for the incoming administration, but also has a deep understanding of Albany, which is going to be a big player in this administration. Will that help to get some of the tough things passed in Albany, or at least the understanding of how you get it done?
Yeah. 100%. Dean has 4 decades of governing experience. It's pretty unparalleled. And as you mentioned, deep experience in the budget, deep experience in Albany. And so those are areas of expertise that will be invaluable. A lot of the agenda that needs to be implemented to bring down the cost of living for New Yorkers, to make a real dent in the affordability crisis, will need the partnership in Albany. And even just this week, the mayor-elect met with Governor Hochul. Those conversations will continue. As you know, that's not an overnight task. It's really throughout the session and for years to come. But the governor and the mayor-elect share a real commitment, right, to addressing affordability issues. So I think they'll find a lot of common cause.
I've always wondered, though, given the fact that the governor is going to be up for re-election this coming year, and it looks like it could be an intense race, to put it mildly, if that's going to limit what she's going to be able to do for New York City, and is that a concern that the new incoming administration has?
I don't think it's a concern. I think that what we're hoping for is that the voices of New Yorkers, they said loudly and clearly, and then they voted in historic fashion, right, for an affordability agenda that would really make a difference in their lives. Those are the same New Yorkers, the same voices that will be heard during the gubernatorial election. And the job of the incoming administration is to make sure that they're working in close partnership with the governor. There are always challenges, budgetary, political, otherwise. But what I know the mayor-elect is focused on is, just really walking a straight line that ends in real outcomes, real results for the people of this city who have been thirsty for a new type of politics and a new way of governing.
So we only have about 30 seconds left. Do you think you could have any trouble attracting enough people to fill the administration?
Not at all. I mean, my phone is it's ringing off the hook. We at this point have close to 50,000 resumes, and so I think it's almost an embarrassment of riches. But it's an extraordinarily positive sign that New Yorkers are ready to join this mission to advance the affordability agenda and to usher in a new era for the 5 boroughs.
Well, Maria, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. I am joined now by Brooklyn Assemblyman Robert Carroll, and I have to start with a question. Why does education seem to have been the forgotten issue in this past mayoral race?
I don't know why, Marcia, because it affects all of us, even if you don't have kids. How we educate our children and making sure that they're successful students, turn them into successful adults, and we need to bring more attention to this issue, and it's one of the things I talk about every day in my role in the State Assembly.
But you've been talking about the fact that you think that there's a serious emergency in education in this state. Why?
Well, I think we've made poor public policy choices, and really the root issue is for about 40 years, we made poor choices about how we teach children to read, going towards a whole language curriculum that's has a lot on vibes and guessing and not a lot on evidence or structure. And what we need to do is implement evidence-based literacy instruction throughout our state to make sure that all students become strong, fluid, and fluent readers so that they can be successful and they can chart their own path.
So explain to our viewers what evidence-based reading is all about.
So evidence-based literacy instruction is an area of research that looks at how people actually learn to read. And actually, almost everybody learns how to read the same way. It's structured, it's sequential, and it's rooted in the 5 pillars of literacy.
But for decades, or for a long time, New York taught it sounding out words phonetically.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's not a good thing.
No, sounding out words phonetically is a good thing. That is. We went away from that, right? We went to a whole language approach that had children using context clues and guessing to get at literacy instead of breaking down the English language into the 46 sounds that you need to know to learn how to read and blend them together.
But see, we've had a situation in New York where under then School Chancellor David Banks, we moved into a new reading thing called Read NYC.
Yeah.
And there is that evidence-based reading that's going on now in New York City schools. So you want to bring that to the state?
Well, we want to bring that statewide, and it's not mission accomplished right now in New York City, right?
Why not?
Well, because, we were going in the wrong direction for 40 years. We've been going in the right direction for the last 3 years. But when it comes to professional development, when it comes to fidelity in the classroom, when it comes to building the whole school day, and I'm talking the early grades, kindergarten through 3rd grade around literacy, there's still so much more that we can do. And then when we're talking statewide, New York could do mandates for evidence-based literacy instruction. We could do mandates for professional development for our teachers. We can make sure that we bring true universal screening for issues like dyslexia, which I struggled with. That's what other states are doing. That's what we should be doing. And if we do that, I think we can make sure that New York suddenly, does a much better job in solving the literacy crisis. 50% of kids statewide read below grade level.
50%?
50%. And, in New York City, it's almost 70%. And
even now, after they've changed the reading program, 70%?
Yeah, according to the National
level?
Assessment, the NAEP, 70% of students in New York City read below grade level, 50%, about 46% barely read at all. And so the literacy crisis is immense. It affects all of us. And if we want progressive education, we need to solve it. And the best place to solve that is in lower grades. And so I wish every elected official from across our state should be shouting from the rooftops that if we want to tackle the affordability crisis, if we want to tackle any of the crises facing our state, we need to make sure that all of our students are strong readers. And I'm uniquely sensitive to it because I know what it is to fail the first grade and the second grade. I was so lucky that, you know, I had a teacher at PS 230 in Kensington, Brooklyn, pick me out of the crowd and say, he must have dyslexia. And I was lucky again that my mom and dad had the means and the opportunity to get me a neuropsychological exam that confirmed that suspicion. I got lucky again because I got to go to a school called the Gateway School and then the Windward School that changed my life. But no kid should have to be lucky to learn to read. We can solve this in New York City public schools and in state public schools throughout the state.
So won't it be very important then for the new mayor to pick a chancellor who understands this? I
think so, and I think he's going to. I've been really excited about who he's picked for his transition team. Maria Torres Springer, who I know was just here, she's phenomenal. Dean Foulahan's phenomenal. And I think that they can bring their expertise and realize that we need to build on what David Banks has done and what Eric Adams had did, which is bring evidence-based instruction. But that's not a job complete. I was happy to sit on that previous mayor's literacy advisory council. I hope that we'll be continuing that work, and I have had conversations with Mayor-elect Mamdani, and I believe he's going to continue that good work, and I look forward to working with him on that.
I guess I have to ask this question. If, in fact, New York City changed its reading program, say, 3 or 4 years ago, what else needs to be done so that we can change that startling figure that you gave us of 70% of the students still read below grade level? What else do you have to do?
So what else do we have to do? So one, you know, professional development. My mom was a reading teacher in New York City public schools. Teachers just don't overnight are able to, by osmosis, suddenly change, you know, the way they teach. So we need to have more professional development for our teachers. We need to make sure that our principals and our superintendents are aware of these changes so that they can oversee those schools and make sure that they're implementing that evidence-based literacy instruction with fidelity. And then also, more importantly, we need to restructure our school day and early grades to focusing on literacy and prioritizing literacy as the #1 core skill in elementary schools. And then we need to make sure that children who are struggling, you know, the 20% or so of students who are going to struggle with language-based learning disabilities like dyslexia, that we identify them and we provide them with the intensive small group instruction that they need. You know, when I struggled with dyslexia, I ended up going to a school that specializes for kids with dyslexia for 6 years. This is not something that magically changes overnight. And so we desperately need to identify those kids early on and provide years-long interventions so that they're strong students.
But the school you went to teaches what you call the Orton-Gillingham method of teaching, which is, you know, multi-sensory. Should New York City schools go towards that a program like that, where it's a multi-sensory approach to learning?
100% when we're talking about students who are struggling classically with dyslexia, which is a phonological awareness deficit. And that is a program, and that is a curriculum that has been proven to work for decades. And so we should be doing that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We know how to teach children how to read. What we need to do is we need to prioritize it. We need to implement statewide laws that mandate it, the way other states have done. And then we need to go to teacher colleges and professional development programs and make sure that everyday teachers are given those tools. We can't expect a young teacher who's 25 or 30 years old to do this on their own. We need, as policymakers, make sure that they have those resources at their fingertips.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but we'll be right back. Thank you for joining me. Snow in New York City. For some, it's a delight. For others, it's more like, oh no. And then there's the, I hope it snows enough for a snow day contingent. I spoke to New Yorkers before the first flurries fell here this week. They're weighing in on your point. Are you looking forward to snow in the city?
Snow, of course. It changes everything.
I love snow in New York.
There's something nice about the cold weather, being bundled inside under a blanket.
It's just comforting. I like the snow.
It just makes the city pretty and festive.
Because it means change. Everything is new and interesting.
The whole city comes alive in a new way. It's magic.
I love the snow. I love the cold.
Not looking forward to snow? No, not at all.
Why not?
I like the summer. Summer is the best part of the year.
I live in Miami Beach, so I don't do snow.
at all?
No, I've done it. Been there, done that.
So what's the best thing about snow?
Stomping around in a fresh coat, hearing that little crunch crunch.
It's kind of diamondish fluffiness.
Skiing, taking my kids skiing.
You have like snowball fights and stuff. It's really pretty before it hits the ground.
The first 10 minutes.
The first day, that's it.
It's beautiful. Everything is beautiful, like all white, and the kids like play in the Central Park, sliding. So it's nice.
What's the worst thing?
When it hits the ground and it's all brown and gray.
It's slushy and messy and gross, and I don't like it.
I guess when it like hardens and it gets all over the place.
When it becomes slush and muddy and ooky and aki.
Wet socks.
Going to work in it.
What's the best way to spend a snow day?
With family, with loved ones, eating soup and enjoying each other's company.
Watching kids play in the snow.
Stomp around in the morning and then curl up in the afternoon.
Get up early in the morning and walk in it and then go home and get in the bed.
I think with your friends, just hanging out.
With your friends and loved ones.
The best way to spend a snow day is my kids home from school, hanging out with them, staying warm, keeping them entertained.
One time, a long time ago, when it really snowed, we were in the park, and you could walk on the lakes, some of the ponds.
That was fun. What's the best way to spend a snow day?
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost biting at your nose.